So welcome to tonight's cooking class with the Gold Ring Center for Culinary Medicine. We are going to be focusing tonight on satisfying salads. Chef Katie is going to be leading us through this lesson tonight. Chef Katie is our amazing community class instructor, family program coordinator, awesome chef lady that's going to kill it tonight with some salads. Again, thank you so much for your support of our online classes. Welcome to our first class of 2021. This one is exciting for us. We're definitely getting back to our healthy eating, but doing it in a way that is reasonable, not beating up on ourselves. Look, it was a rough year. It's okay. But, we all probably, like I said in my email today, if you saw that, I personally need to eat some more vegetables. So I think this is a great class. Hope you're probably in the same boat as me. Like, okay, we'll balance our king cake with our vegetables. So I'm going to turn it over to Chef Katie. She's going to lead us through this awesome lesson. I will be putting the links to the recipes in the chat box if you still need them. You'll notice that right now you're all muted. If you want to unmute yourself, if you're cooking along and you have a burning question, feel free to do that. The other option you have is to send a chat in the chat box. I'll be monitoring that throughout the class, and I'll either be able to answer you back or I can sort of interrupt Chef Katie to field questions over to her as needed. But if you need anything, I'm here in the chat box. We're all here. Hopefully this will be a fun time. Does anybody want to give us a wave and let us know if they are planning on cooking along tonight? All right, I see Noah waving, Gail is waving, Mary's waving, Christy's waving, Tara's waving. Oh my gosh, so much waving. Okay. Oh, waving. Awesome. Okay. So definitely feel free, chime in if you need some help. But Katie always does an awesome job of guiding you through each step. So without further ado, let me turn this over to Chef Katie.
All right. Hello. Happy New Year. Happy Mardi Gras. Although it's going to be a very different one for us here in New Orleans, it is still a good time to celebrate. And usually we wait until after Mardi Gras to start giving things up. But I honestly love to eat salads all year round. And when we talked about what we thought would be a good idea for the very first class, we feel like a lot of people, try to eat healthier in the new year. It's when a lot of people try new diets and new things. So, and I feel like often people, the first thing they think of is salad. And often you give up on that salad diet very quickly because you're hungry and you're cranky. And so I really wanted to show you guys some of my favorite salads that are extremely filling, are super colorful, and also have a lot of texture to them, because I know that that is what makes me enjoy a salad. And then I also want to give a big shout out to the CSA that I belong to here in New Orleans called River Queen Greens. They were nice enough to supplement me. I already had some of their greens, but I needed some kale and carrots. And so they were nice enough to give me, okay, I put it in a little pretty thing. These lovely kale and some garden grown carrots. So I do feel like the first best step to a delicious salad is to have locally grown vegetables and lettuce to go in it, which I know is not always an option for everybody, but when it is for you, I highly recommend it. This time of year in New Orleans, there are lots of greens to go with. So you'll see that the other things about both of my salads is that I do not just use one singular salad green, and I don't use just like a mix, like a pre-packaged mix of greens. So that's another way that I just add more nutrients, more texture, and more color to my salad. So I am gonna jump just a little bit between the two salads because of timing. So the first thing I'm gonna start with is I'm gonna get those pecans for the kale salad going. So I, in typical, COVID fashion, didn't actually have enough pecans for this recipe. So I am using some walnuts and pecan mixture. And I'm just gonna dump them right here into this bowl. I have the Creole seasoning that Heather was nice enough to attach to that recipe. I'm just gonna sprinkle that on top. I already have my salt in there. And then I have this 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. So I used to work at this great restaurant in town called Dante's Kitchen. And this was one of the things that we put on our salads there. And it always reminded me of Chex Mix. And that's because Worcestershire is one of those amazing ingredients in Chex Mix that we don't always think about. We love using Worcestershire sauce at Goldring because it adds that umami flavor. So super easy, literally just mix that up. The recipe that Heather gave you guys is a great one that you can make a bulk amount and have it in your pantry so that every time you want to use that spices, those seasonings, you don't have to mix it every time. They're gonna last in your fridge. I'm sorry, in your pantry, in your spice cabinet. So I'm just gonna spread them out evenly on the tray and I'm gonna pop them in the oven. Hopefully the folks that are cooking along pulled out their chicken. If they saw that in the chef advice column, if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and pull your chicken out of the refrigerator now. By letting your chicken kind of hang out on the counter for a little bit, it's going to cook more evenly and it's also going to cook faster. But it isn't going to pose any risk of, making you sick if you just let it warm up a little bit. So you can just leave it right on your counter, either in the packaging it came in, or you can lay it out on a plate. All right, so
you like that trick. You like that trick for like all meats, right? Isn't that kind of a good rule of thumb? Anytime you're cooking meat is to let it chill, like let it unchill a little before you cook it.
I would say the only exception it would be like if you were making meatballs or something, because you do actually need there's something about the cold fat that's going to help those meatballs stay together. So that would be the one random exception. But yes, steak, pork chops, chicken breasts, chicken thighs, whole chickens. If you bring that whole chicken out and let it sit on the counter for 25 minutes, half hour, it'll roast so much faster and even more evenly. You'll get like a nice browner skin. So don't be scared to pull your meat out a little bit earlier before cooking. So the next thing I'm going to do too is toast these seeds. So that's the only jump I'm going to do. Well, actually I take that back, whatever. This is the seeds for my favorite salad. I've got sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds. So I'm just going to, this way, both my nuts could be done at the same time. Just 350, about 10 minutes. I also have my eggs. I already started my eggs ahead of time because I felt like you guys didn't really need a huge demo of hard boiling eggs. But what I would like to say is that we have a recipe on our website called How to Cook the Perfect Boiled Egg. So you can absolutely reference that. And another tip is that hard-boiled eggs will last for 5 to 6 days in your refrigerator. So if you're going to boil 1 egg, you might as well boil 4 eggs because they're going to last in your refrigerator, and then you can save yourself the hassle. When I am boiling eggs, I do drop them into an ice water bowl, but the real trick is to not let them stay in there so long. So I can still feel that this egg is hot, which means that the skin is the peel itself is going to come off super easily. And then I'm going to put it back in this ice water bowl so that I don't get that oxidized yolk. So you'll see I kind of tapped it on my cutting board. I just gave it a little roll with my hand, and you'll see, hopefully this egg will be kind to me in front of all of you people.
Chef Katie,
I find often that eggs that are a little bit older, so if it's like from the farmer's market, my eggs peel really nicely versus sometimes my Costco eggs stick a little bit more. But see how we get this really clean, like that whole peel is coming off. So it's cooperating now.
That's very satisfying when that happens.
Yeah. And
Did you say how long you like to boil your eggs for?
I do. I boil them for 10 minutes.
Okay, me too.
Just on a rolling. Once it starts to come to a boil, I start the timer.
Yeah.
And then I just pull them out with a slotted spoon and drop them into my ice bath. And then by putting them back in the ice bath, you do two things. You're going to cool them off all the way through, and you're going to be able to rinse off any of the shell that may have gotten stuck on there. The next thing that we're going to do is our chicken. So if you are not peeling eggs like I am right now, if you want to make sure you got your chicken out and all your spices, I did pre-measure my spices. So feel free if you're at home and you want to start measuring, if you haven't done that already. The spice that I put on the chicken is my knockoff from my favorite spice company, Penzeys, that I talk about all the time on these classes. And I basically just looked at the ingredient list and did my best to come up with what ratios I thought like this spice would be. So if you are fortunate enough to live somewhere that has Penzeys spices, you can simply get the Sate seasoning from them, SATE. Now ours probably has a little bit less salt in it because that is something that we focus on a lot, is that we don't want a ton of salt in our food, which is also another reason why it's nice to make it yourself. So I just have all my spices here. I actually didn't have onion powder, and honestly, it isn't gonna matter. So don't hold yourself too accountable when you might just be missing a spice like that. It's not the end of the world, but much like the Creole seasoning, like I was saying, it's really easy to make a larger batch of this. So the recipe we gave you is going to be perfect for these, a pack, which is traditionally about 6 chicken thighs. So if you want to double this recipe or multiply it by 4, you would be able to have extra in your cabinet. You just want to be careful that when you're seasoning your chicken, that you don't put your chicken fingers, you don't like cross contaminate. So sometimes if I do make a large batch, I will pull out a small amount and I will put the rest in my pantry, and then I will season my chicken with that small amount that I pulled out, just to make sure that I don't get chicken goo in my spices. Okay, so
Chef Katie, quick question. How long should you leave your eggs in the ice water after you boil them, before you peel them, or after you peel them, I guess?
I would say at least 3 or 4 minutes, up to 15, right? Because really what you're trying to do after you peel them and you put them back in the ice water is you're just trying to make sure they're cooled all the way through. And that really shouldn't take too long, especially now that you've gotten rid of the hard exterior. They'll cool even quicker in that liquid. And even when you store them in the refrigerator, if you put them in like a plastic container like this, you can put a wet paper towel or some water in the container, and it's also going to help the eggs retain some of their moisture as if you just boiled them, if you know you're going to eat it, a couple of days down the road.
Cool. Yeah, I like having eggs around like that. It's a good quick like snack, but also you can add it to anything.
Yeah.
Give yourself some nice lean protein.
My kids love to eat hard-boiled eggs. They love eggs in any way you make them. So anytime I have, if something calls for hard-boiled eggs, I'm always making extra because I know I can feed it to them. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing here. I'm just laying my chicken out on a plate so that I have as much access to the surface area of my chicken. And I had a little spoon, but I seem to have lost it. Okay, so I'm just gonna mix up my spices here so that they're nice and uniform, and then I'm just gonna sprinkle it lovingly all over. I actually give this chicken with this spice seasoning a pretty heavy coating. So because what I really like about this is that now you've got a very flavorful protein that you're adding to your salad. So I feel like a lot of salads can sometimes lay really flat when you just have like a salt and pepper grilled or sauteed like chicken pieces, or when the protein doesn't necessarily bring its own party to the salad, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my cast iron skillet. I know I cook with cast iron skillets a lot here. If I wasn't gonna use a cast iron, a saute pan like this that has just a completely metal pan would work perfectly fine, because I am gonna finish these in the oven. So I'm just gonna try to make sure we're getting it all over the chicken. And then I'm gonna flip it over and sprinkle onto the other side as well. Oh, and I can really smell my nuts. So that is a great thing. Sometimes I find that my nose is often better than a timer. So when I can start to smell them, it's a good time to check on them. All right. I'm gonna give the walnuts just a little bit longer, but you'll see that these, my sesame seeds now are just a little more golden brown. This is gonna help your seeds have more flavor and also just be crunchier. And although our recipe just calls for like a tablespoon of these, I tend to make closer to like a quarter of a cup, because much like the eggs, if I'm going to toast some seeds, I want to have extra seeds on hand, because now I can put them in an airtight container and they will stay crunchy and lovely on my countertop. And then I can add them to any salad that I want, or on top of sandwiches. I'm trying to think of some other things I put those toasted seeds on, but mainly it's salads.
And toasted really is so much more flavorful. Sometimes I have been known to be lazy and not toast my nuts and seeds, and I always regret it, because it just tastes better when you take that extra step. So sometimes when you're busy, you want to be lazy and not do it. But this way, if you do it in advance, like Katie's saying, you'll be setting yourself up for success. Katie, I have one question for you. I think Terry was asking, and I'm pretty sure she's talking about the chicken. She wants to know if you could explain to her and everybody, why do we cook the chicken in the pan first, then transfer it to the oven? Why not just cook the chicken in the oven?
Oh, I am so happy you asked that question, because let me tell you why. Because I am going to get this beautiful brown color. My dear friend Frank Brightson, that's a chef here in New Orleans, is so known for saying that brown is the color of flavor. And so if you roasted them in the oven, you're not going to get that same brown caramelization that you would. Now, I will say the step you could skip is that you just cook them all the way in the skillet. I find that there's just less effort by popping it in the oven, right? So I'm going to get a nice brown exterior on my chicken, and then I'm going to pop it in the oven and it's going to finish cooking. And I don't have to worry as much about that chicken getting burnt in the oven as I would if I put it, if I continued cooking it on the stovetop. But sometimes, like this one is a very small, like it's pretty thin. Like this would probably be pretty easy to cook. But as I think we all know, all the chicken thighs, when you get a pack like this, they're not all the same size. And so it really just allows you to make sure that everything is cooked all the way through, that it's not going to be super dry, that you're not going to be like pulling off one and then continue cooking the rest. It's more just it's pretty simple this way. But that brown color,
yes,
makes my answer very simple. That brown color is what we're looking for. I know I talk a lot about the tilting of my home. So I'm just going to show you guys one thing that I love to do, which is to rotate my pan. So instead of moving my chicken all around and kind of futzing with it, I use my handle as a clock and I move it around 3, 6, 9, 12. Usually by the time I make it all the way around the clock, it's a good time to flip my chicken. This means that if you have any hot spots, or if, again, like your house kind of, or your stove slants a little and like all the oil goes into one corner, it's going to help you, again, have a better balanced, even browning of your chicken. Okay, so I think while our chicken cooks, how are people that are cooking along doing? How's that for a question?
How's everybody doing that's cooking?
We're good. All right, I see a thumbs up. Fancy gave a thumbs up. She's not cooking. That's my mother. For anybody who this is your first time here,
the result
but she loves just to watch.
I'm still heating my pan, so I haven't put my chicken in yet.
Okay, no worries. So I'm gonna stall just for a second to try to get them just a minute to get their chicken in the pan, and just talk about the next few steps that I'm gonna do. So I did start with these things because I wanted to get everything in the oven. And as much as you don't really want to put like a super hot piece of chicken on top of your salad. So it'll be nice that this will give us some time to pull our chicken out of the oven and let it rest. That also is gonna help trap in all of those juices that are in our chicken. And so that we can cut it. There is turmeric in the chicken, which is that beautiful bright yellow color that we often see in like curries. Turmeric stains, and I just want to put that out there. So you really want to be careful with like your cutting boards or depending on what kind you're using, or your countertops or your clothes, that you just want to watch that turmeric will really leave a mark. You can certainly treat it, and with a little bit of scrubbing, it definitely can come out of things, but not immediately. Sometimes it takes a day or two for you to get the.
I've been known to have yellow tinged fingernails from too much turmeric, which, not the cutest thing.
So look, I'm going to give you guys the big reveal to our chicken here, so you can see how nice and brown.
Ooh.
Which the sugar that we put in here also really helps us get some of this brown color. And then I'm going to get brown color a little bit on the bottom on the stovetop, but really, because I flipped it and it is now touching the skillet, when I put it into the oven, it will continue the that browning process on the bottom. Okay, I think we should make the salad dressing for my favorite salad. I have all of my ingredients here, as I always do. I talk a lot about mise en place. It does really help make things go a lot quicker when you have all of the ingredients and equipment that you are going to need for your recipe. These things tend to live in my pantry in a very similar location as well, and so that does help things make things easier. I talk often about the fact that I'm normally cooking with 2 small children, 2 cats, and a dog running amok in my house, which means that I have a lot of processes to make sure that I remember what ingredients I have put in my items. And so my trick for that is that usually, I like that Heather thinks this is very funny. It's so honest though, is that once I have used an item, I usually put it back in the pantry, or I set it away from the other items. When it comes to baking, this can be very, very important when it's coming down to remembering if you added that baking soda or baking powder. With salad dressing, not quite as important, but at this point, it's like so ingrained in me that I can't quite help myself. But this salad dressing that I'm gonna make is like a staple in my home. It lives in the refrigerator for a long time. Like somebody put the honey back on like this. it's hot toddy season here in New Orleans because, you know, it dropped below 40 for 24 hours. Okay. Okay, the chicken's in the oven. I'm gonna set my timer for like 5 minutes. The nuts are out of the oven, and we just want to let these cool really well so that they have that nice crunch to them. So you can just leave those on the pan until they're nice and cool. Just like the seeds, they're gonna last for a good week in an airtight container. They'll retain their crunch. If when you get to them, they don't have their crunch, you absolutely can just throw them back in an oven, like anywhere between 300 and 350 for a couple of minutes, and they will kind of re-crisp up. So don't ditch your nuts if they get soft on you. Okay, I got the honey open. Woo!
Woo!
That was close. All right, so
like a sip of a cocktail after that.
I know, right? I think I do deserve one. Oh boy, so the kids are in, but Daddy's maintaining them. We'll see how long that lasts. Okay, so this is how I make salad dressings. I do not whisk and emulsify. I do not do any of that business. It all goes into a jelly jar, and I'm going to shake it, and that is going to be just fine. So we'll start with our mustard and honey and our apple cider vinegar. So just a tablespoon of the mustard, a tablespoon of honey. I really like to put less oil in vinaigrettes than what a traditional vinaigrette calls for. Because what I personally am looking for is like that zippity zing of the acid that I'm adding, which today is apple cider vinegar and grapefruit. So we here in New Orleans are also really fortunate that we have a beautiful citrus season where we can get tons of local, you can literally just pick it off your neighbor's trees. Like so many people grow more than they can even deal with. But we actually grow our own grapefruits here at my house. We planted that when my daughter was born. So now 6 years later, we get close to like 25 grapefruits off of our tree. We'd probably get more if kids in the neighborhood didn't pull like unripe ones off our tree, but I don't blame them. Okay, so I added my vinegar. One of my other secret ingredients for salad dressings is a little bit of soy sauce. So that is that umami flavor. And it's such a little amount at a half a teaspoon that it doesn't give this like Asian flavor to the salad dressing. It just gives a little bit of salt to it. And again, that kind of umami, that roundness. So I am gonna zest my grapefruit, and I'm just gonna zest it right into this jar. So I put my zester and I kind of slide it so that that handle is right up against the jar here. And I'm just gonna drag my grapefruit. Now I definitely am not gonna zest this whole thing. I think it says 1/2. So I'm just gonna kind of do a couple of drags on here. This is not an exact science. So don't stress out over it being like exactly whatever, a half of a grapefruit worth of zest. But I do feel when you're using citrus, you should always incorporate the zest because so much of that depth of flavor of the citrus is in the zest. Too many things on my counter here. And I'm just gonna juice the grapefruit by hand. Nothing too complicated here. And I'm gonna strain it through my fingers because I'm not worried about, the seeds are usually big enough, they come out pretty easy.
Katie, I have to tell you, I made this dressing last week after you sent it to me.
Yeah.
So that we could finalize it and get it all typed up and sent out. And it is delicious. And I I am not really a big grapefruit fan, but I wouldn't have really necessarily known it was grapefruit. It just,
Okay.
all of the things together to me just blended so nicely.
Yeah.
Really flavorful, really good
Thank
balance. And
you.
I'm like you, I don't like an oily dressing, which is good if you're watching calories, you know, if we can cut back a little on the oil, even when we're using a good quality oil, it's still not a bad thing to do if you're watching your calories. So I also just prefer the taste and the texture of it. And I thought this was a really great, like, solid example of a good dressing that's not, you know, that's got a better ratio of acid to oil.
Yeah. I really, yes, I tend to, any recipe, like if I'm following another chef's vinaigrette recipe, I always start with half of the oil that they call for, and then I kind of adjust
Yeah.
based on my preference. So, and I think it's a great point. Like you're just like saving calories immediately. I find a lot of vinaigrettes can be really oily.
Yeah.
Our red wine vinaigrette definitely has a higher ratio of oil, but doesn't seem really oily to me in the way that some other
Yeah.
vinaigrettes do. And I would like to say as well that a lot of citrus would work beautifully in this recipe.
Yeah.
Lemons, oranges, satsumas, grapefruits, blood oranges. I mean, like whatever citrus you can get your hands on, that it's gonna elevate the flavor of your salad dressing. Okay, salt and pepper and oil, I think, are all we have left. I always write to taste for pepper because I feel like, one, some people, pepper can be overdone for some folks, but I always felt so bad when we would be in person teaching and somebody was grinding pepper with this and trying to like catch it under this teaspoon to like measure. Pepper is not something you need to really worry about that. Salt and oil, we constantly remind folks that they need to measure these things, but like black pepper, don't stress out about that. I'm gonna say I got almost a quarter a cup with this juice. So
like
anybody,
depending on, so if you're using something like a lemon or an orange, you might need to do two lemons or a whole orange to get the same as like a half a grapefruit.
Yes, exactly. Although I would say in that sense too, if you do use two oranges, don't necessarily zest two oranges. You might bring it a little too far into the wonderful world of zest. So just think about like maybe like a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of zest should be plenty. So in that goes, and how much oil? A quarter of a cup. For salad dressings, I do like to use extra virgin olive oil because you do really taste it, but regular olive oil would be completely fine. And canola oil also, this one has such great flavors that, that canola oil is not gonna, the canola oil is I would say very bland in comparison to extra virgin olive oil. So somebody wants to say hello. So there we go. Yeah. I think Ainsley alone is why some people sign up for this class. All right, go help Daddy with Clive, okay? And you'll get a snack in a minute. Yeah, exactly. I knew that's what she wanted, was a snack. She's predictable, that one. Where did I put that lid? I know I had a lid for this jelly jar to demonstrate the great shaking that I'm gonna do, but now I don't know where I did with it. Okay, give me 1 second. I get a new lid.
Heather?
Yeah.
I joined the class late. What did the chef put in the pan when she started cooking the chicken? Katie?
It was just 2 teaspoons of oil. That's all.
It doesn't matter what kind of oil?
You can use olive oil or canola oil or a blend of the two, or, like vegetable oil. But we at Goldring, we tend to use a 50-50 blend of olive oil and canola oil. It gives us a little bit higher of a smoking point. but I think most people at home probably just use like a vegetable or canola oil. And I think that that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So now I've got my jar. I'm just going to shake, shake, shake. I see Mary shaking. This is a great job for the kids. They love this. So that's another thing I love to like get my children involved in the things that we're making. And so letting them help me measure and help shake things like this. You could certainly use a plastic container, depending if your kids are anywhere as wild as mine. That's sometimes the best way to go. All right, so our salad dressing is done. Certainly we've got enough that is gonna last us for a week, if not more. I let my salad dressing stay for a long time, but I tell people a week, it could stay in my fridge for a month. And it would be perfectly fine because the only thing that's in here that really is fresh is that zest and the juice, and it's really going to be fine. A lot of dressings that have raw shallots or raw garlic, those are the ones that you're really going to need to give it like a week and probably discard it because that garlic is just going to keep growing and growing. Okay, I think we can, what else do I have? Oh yeah, just my apple and some chopping. Okay, and we can put this salad together. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys my cutting board here. So I have these lovely greens from the River Queen Greens. They do, it's like a frise mix and like some red oak in there. And so I always really wash and spin things like that really well. And then I have these 2 random heads of purple cabbage that I also got from River Queen Greens. So if you can see, I've already cut this one in half, and then that's how I kind of shave off of the side and then just keep it stored in my fridge that way. And then I have this adorable little head of Napa cabbage. So certainly the sky's the limit of what sorts of mixtures you can put, but I love adding raw cabbage to my salads. They add so much crunch and color. But I also wanted to show you guys a tool that I think a lot of folks are kind of scared of. So I did want to give you just a quick lesson in using a mandolin. I think the number one thing about the mandolin is to just stop before you cut yourself. Yeah, because a lot of what you cut can go into your stock, or you can just eat it. And so that's even my rule of thumb is that like I don't like do this like whole flat hand like trying to get the last of something. Oh no, like once it gets within like a half an inch of the blade, like I'm out. So leaving the core in my cabbage here is going to make it a lot easier to mandolin because the layers of the cabbage are not going to be falling off. And so just a few glides on. Another great trick is to do this kind of cupping method. So a lot of mandolins come with a holder and those things are just weird and awkward. So if I make my hand like in a scoop kind of cupped shape, I'm going to keep my fingers out, but my, this round object that I'm holding, it makes it easier to slide. Okay. So there's a little bit of cabbage. I'm going to use this red one too. Give that a little bit, okay. And then with the Napa cabbage, since I'm doing like a real mix, I'm just gonna pick a couple of leaves off and I'm gonna do what we call in the restaurant world, chiffonade. This is what I'm gonna do with the kale as well when we get to that part. So I have stacked them on top of each other. I'm gonna kind of loosely roll it and then I'm gonna slice it. The tip of my knife is not leaving the cutting board and I'm going all the way through. And then that I just will compost. All right, so now we really are ready. Oh, with the apple. Okay, so only apples I have are these like apple pears I got from Costco. They're okay. My kids eat them. I don't think they're amazing, but
Wait a minute. What is an apple pear?
pear, right? Okay, so it looks a lot like a Bosc pear on the outside, but
Yeah.
it's shaped like an apple. And then the inside is also like really firm,
Huh.
more like an apple. You know, pears sometimes tend to like, it's almost like an Asian pear on the inside
Okay.
or an
Okay.
apple. I don't know. You know, at Costco, you either have to buy like 30 of something. And so these apple pears were like a really reasonable number, like 6. And so I was like, all right, let's do it with the apple pear. So I'm sorry, I forgot to point out. So this is how I love to cut apples. I make a slice here. And since this is all I'm going to use for my salad, I would generally just put this like on a plate or a piece of saran wrap down that way. But if I was going to cut the whole thing, I would basically make a square around the core so that I cut here, here, and here. And then all I'm left with is the center piece. And the reason I love doing that versus just like chopping it in half and then trying to like cut out the core, it's just a lot safer. And you'll be able to get these really nice squares. So I'm going to cut it in half so that now it lays flat on that side as well. And I'm going to cut it in half that way. And then I'm going to make what we call batons. And from those batons, I'm going to go back and make dice. And so now, again, we're like working on this salad that has multiple shapes, right? So we've got these kind of bigger chunks of the apple. That I also try to talk to folks about salads is that you want to be able to like get a nice bite with everything on your fork. So if your apples were huge and then you have this like shredded cabbage, it's just kind of awkward to eat if they're not all together, all like, you know, relatively bite size shapes is the word I'm looking for. Okay, so here I love to eat salad out of ridiculously large bowls.
Ooh, me too.
Because I feel like when they're in a really small bowl, they're like, it's like spilling out, or you didn't get like an opportunity to really like mix it up really well. I've got some dried cranberries here from Trader Joe's. That's about a tablespoon. I get an egg. So I would probably cut my egg about like that. And then get like a little bit of yolk on the, like that. So my egg goes in. And seeds. Oh yes. Okay. So the other thing I didn't have was goat cheese. So I'm gonna substitute. I have like some aged cheddar, so that would work really well. Or you have some blue cheese. I'm gonna go with a little bit of blue cheese because I like it funky. And luckily for me, like my kids also are more than willing to eat aged cheeses and blue cheese. So I know this won't go to waste.
I think blue cheese and apples does sound like a good combo.
Yeah, well, that's what I really love about this salad too, is like you've got the sweet dried cranberries that are like both tangy and sweet. You've got the sweet apples, you've got like a salty kind of cheese, you've got these crunchy seeds that I'm gonna sprinkle on top. And then we talk a lot about when you're making a salad that for 2 cups of greens, you get 2 tablespoons of salad dressing. And I know for a lot of people that sounds crazy. But the truth is that if you're trying to eat something healthy and then you completely douse it in so much salad dressing that it's no longer healthy, then you've kind of defeated the purpose there. I do recommend to folks sometimes to just to measure your salad dressing. I think a lot of us just pour it out of the bottle. And then what you're left with is at the bottom of your salad dressing, at the bottom of your salad, you have all this salad dressing. So there's like waste involved in it. But also you're adding a lot more calories than maybe you were intending to.
Well, and sometimes you put too much and you kind of ruin your salad
That too. Yep.
because you're like, oh shoot, I overdressed it. It's like gets all sad and soggy. I promised no sad salads on this class, so we can't have any of that.
Yeah. I did like that. No sad salads. Alright, so I'm gonna put my 2 tablespoons of salad dressing on here and toss away. And this is now, you guys will get a glimpse here of my favorite salad. Ta-da! And I assure you, I'd probably be really happy just eating this whole thing myself. But I also would say that this would be like a good side salad for a family of 2 to 4 to like accompany your meal. Because to be honest, like I don't just sit down and eat salad that all the time. I mean, I like salad, don't get me wrong, but it tends to just be like a part of my meal. Okay, so let's move on to our kale salad. This is gonna go pretty quickly. I will like to say there's a couple of my friends on this class tonight who know the woman who inspired this salad for me, our dear friend, Sarah Adkins. She is the queen of this avocado lemon salad dressing. I feel like we've all eaten this version of her salad. And I love this because, again, I feel like a lot of folks feel pressures to like either make the salad, the whisking, the emulsifying, and that this trick is that we're actually just going to make the salad dressing is the mashed avocado and the salt and the lemon juice. And it just happens in the bowl. And she like, you know, gets her hands all in it. She's a special one. That Sarah. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna do this. So I've got this half of an avocado. Oh, this is almost like a quarter, but we'll pretend like it's half of an avocado.
That looks like a pretty big one. I'll
I
say.
mean, yeah, it's like, you know, it's those Costco avocados. They're huge.
I've been into the baby avocados recently when I can find them because I feel like it just works better for me.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. The Trader Joe's is really good about having small avocados.
And I have found them in other grocery stores as well.
Yeah.
Even I think I haven't shopped at Walmart in a while, but when I used to live over by there, I pretty sure I found those baby ones even at Walmart.
Okay, so I've got my avocado just kind of, you know, I just mashed it with the back of my spoon. I just cut off like a small portion. I actually got this lemon off of a neighbor's tree today while the kids and I were walking the dog. And we give you like 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, which seems so little, right? But don't forget that we still have these like kind of salty nuts. We have this highly seasoned chicken. So this salad is not going to be bland, I promise you. All right, so I'm not going to mix that up too crazy because when we add our kale and we start doing the massaging, we'll be able to mix that up a little bit better. All right, so I've got this beautiful kale from my friends at River Queen Greens. This part of the stem is very tough and kind of fibrous. So we are gonna want to ditch that. So a really easy way to do that is to pinch here and you just kind of drag down the stem. And then at that point, I just kind of snap it off because I don't mind it so much up here. But you also then can go ahead and drag it all the way up to the top and get rid of that whole stem. I used to have to clean like cases of collard greens at Dante's Kitchen, where I met this lovely lady, Sarah, that loves the mashed avocado salad. And so this is something that really just comes with practice. You also can certainly use a knife to cut it out, but it's also a great kid job. All right, so I'm gonna do a very similar thing like I did with the Napa cabbage. I'm just going to stack these. These little scraps, I'm just gonna leave as they are because that's about how we're going to, it's gonna end up. All right, I was really determined to be done in an hour. I think we're almost gonna be there.
We're close.
Yeah. All right. So again, I'm just going through. My knife isn't leaving the cutting board, and I'm slicing these like little ribbons. Okay. So I'm going to throw those in there with those, and then I'm going to let the massaging just happen right here on my cutting board. So you can see I'm just kind of squeezing this kale and like folding it around and then just kind of scooping back in.
I have to say, I find that job very relaxing.
Yeah.
And I also happen to really, really like a kale salad. I like any, hearty greens, but I really enjoy doing a kale salad. And if you think you don't like kale salad, you have to give this a try, because the massaging of the greens is really what makes all the difference with the kale salad.
Well, and hopefully the lighting you guys can see. I'll show you what the kale looked like before.
I can tell.
Yeah. All right. So here's what we had at the beginning. And then now with the massaging, can you see the difference?
It's shinier.
It's kind of like an electric green color now. And when you eat it, you'll feel this kind of textural difference. Like you've done part of the work of what your teeth would have to do basically if you didn't massage the kale.
Yeah, so Fancy just actually asked to explain what does the massaging do, but I think that kind of explains it. You're actually just starting to break it down and get some of that fibrousness out of it so that it is a little more delicate when you go to eat it. It's still going to be a hearty green. It's not going to be broken down to like the texture of a baby green, but you get a little boost. Now we have one more quick question for you before you move on. Romy wants to know, are you able to get, I don't know how to pronounce this, calamansi vinegar in New Orleans?
Oh, is it Calamondin that she's saying? Let me see.
Maybe.
Oh, Calamansani. I'm not sure.
I've not heard of
like
that.
Calamondin. Jessica, you're on here. Is that the same orange, the sour orange that we grow here in New Orleans sometimes? Yep. Jessica says yes. So we don't get I don't know that I've never seen the vinegar, but they're like smaller oranges and they have like fairly big seeds and they're really bitter. And you definitely see them a lot in Filipino food. But in that like New Orleans way, like how there's so much citrus here, you also can often see them growing. My dear friend Kate had one just growing in her backyard when they bought their house.
Cool.
But I do like the idea of turning it into a vinegar.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
that might be something
vinegar.
we need to do. Yeah,
homemade vinegar.
I forgot my pinch of red pepper flakes, but I did add that. Certainly, that is optional, but I do think that again, it just elevates the salad a little bit. It's not like the salad is spicy, but it just is going to kind of bring some flavor and a little heat to it. All right, so that's all in. I'm just going to toss this around.
Oh, Jessica says she's going to make you some of this vinegar.
That's my girl. Thank you. I'll take it. I love flavored vinegars. They're like my favorite. I mean, I made that pepper vinegar for the edible gifts class. Like I always have my own tarragon vinegar. My grandmother was a big fan of making her own like flavored vinegar.
I have to say that's another great tip for a super easy salad dressing is if you have any flavored vinegars laying around, you can literally just mix some flavored vinegar and oil, give it a quick shake. You don't even need to have anything else in there if you don't want to. If you're just going to make just enough that you can use it right away, toss it on your salad. Talk about easy.
Yeah. Okay, so I do have a carrot here that I'm gonna grate. This is like nothing that I need to teach anybody, but here's my grated carrot. I personally don't like sliced carrots in salads, but I love grated carrots. And I don't know, it's just like a texture thing, I think at that point. But I'm just gonna dump it right in. Grating carrots, also an awesome kid job. I used to teach children for a living, so I'm always looking now, like I knew at work we were always looking for ways to keep the kids occupied, and now I have my own children, and so I work on keeping them occupied. We also, our recipe calls for chickpeas. I didn't have chickpeas, but I did have some white beans. So I just opened a can of white beans. I'm gonna throw those in there. I'm going to show you guys my favorite bean hack, which is that beans freeze really easily. So I'll probably save about half of this can to use in the rest of the week, but the rest of the beans, I'm just going to put in this plastic container. I'm going to label it. I'm going to put a lid on it. I'm not going to bother putting any water in it or anything. And then the next time I want beans like in a soup or in tacos or wherever, I now have like a cup of beans. And I often can just pop it right frozen right out of the container into the skillet. I don't do anything with the liquid with canned beans. They go right down the drain for me. My coworker, Amber, whose picture is on here, so I'm not sure if she's listening, but she is the queen of aquafaba macaroons. She has made some really delicious ones where you like whip the, I'm not sure if it's just chickpeas. Do you know?
It's just
It
chickpeas. The
Okay.
chickpea liquid, you can, it's really popular with vegan people because it has the same properties, or it can behave the same way as eggs oftentimes. So you can definitely whip it up like egg whites for a meringue. We actually used it recently to coat some broccoli bites. We were trying to make our broccoli bites vegan friendly. And so instead of dipping them in egg, we dipped them in the chickpea liquid, and it actually worked perfectly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, cool.
With any bean liquid except for black beans. Black beans are the only ones that don't. But you can do it like pinto. You can do it with kidney. I don't know if you want kidney-esque flavored meringue, but you definitely can.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I'll stick to the chickpeas or maybe white beans, something mild.
Yeah, mild and also like slightly colorless. Like I would imagine the black beans just probably makes a really ugly color.
You're definitely right.
Yeah. But let's look at how beautiful this one looks, right? So we've got a lot of color happening here. We have a lot of texture here. There's like, I don't know if you can see, there's like still some chunks of avocado. It didn't just, I only mushed it in a way where you still get some bits of avocado. And then I'm just gonna slice up one of these chicken thighs to put on top. And another trick that I love to do with beans is like, especially if I do it in something like my favorite salad, is that I actually pour a little bit of the vinaigrette on the beans and let them sit in that vinaigrette for a little bit, and they start to absorb the vinaigrette flavor. And then they just, so you just get a little extra tang.
Yeah, like a little marinated bean, like kind of like you would get if you went to back in the day when you could go to like the salad bar
right,
or whatever.
Those the good old days of the salad
No,
bar.
I'm not gonna say it was good old days. I'm kind of mad that that's gone, but
yeah,
because those things were such a ripoff. You would go there and you fill up your little box thinking, oh, I'm being so good, I'm getting this salad. The next thing you know, you spent $15.
It's true. They do that way.
Salads, it's like way too big, way too much. You put all kinds of foolishness in there. I mean, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know.
No, I think it's true. I think you're making a totally valid point.
But
Okay.
I like how simple is that you can make your own fun things without a whole lot of effort. You've already made the dressing. Just throw it on the beans, stash that in the fridge. Now you've got that added flavor for your topping.
Yeah, well, and I think it's actually a great point that you made. So things like grated carrots, sliced radishes, the sliced cabbage, all of that is going to last for at least 4 days in your refrigerator. Putting a wet paper towel on top of things like radishes, cabbages are going to help them stay moist. It's also going to help them not oxidize as much. And so it's not like you have to cut this every single day, especially if you're somebody who like wants to bring these salads to work with you and you don't want to have to do all this chopping each day. It's really easy to have either your ingredients divided out, or you can go ahead and mix all of your ingredients except for the salad dressing and have them in a container, wet paper towel on top, lid on top of that. And then you can just add the salad dressing when you sit down and eat. But here is our finished salad that I said was good enough to be dinner. We've got our chicken, super flavorful. We've got our these, kind of spiced nuts on top. And then all of that beautiful kale and carrots and avocados. And then the beans, like you almost don't even notice the beans too. Like you can make them a little more special, or you can just feel good knowing that you've like added some extra fiber and that you have some really strong flavors in a salad that you're not even gonna notice.
Yeah.
Beans.
Well, and I think that's a really great point. I know I put it on one of the recipes. I actually printed it in there, but it's a good thing to think about when you're thinking about combining stuff to make a salad. The real trick to making it satisfying so that if you're going to eat a salad for lunch, for example, you want it to hold you over. You don't want to be hungry just a little bit later. So you definitely want to think about incorporating a little bit of protein. You got to have some protein, whether it's the chicken, an egg, some beans, whatever it is, you want some protein. You need fiber, and you should have some good fiber from all your vegetables that you're putting in there, but the beans definitely help with that too. And then you need to have some healthy fats. Those are the three things together that are going to give you that sensation of satiation, that feeling of fullness, keep you going strong. And so usually the easiest place to do the healthy fats is in your dressing, but you did it today with the nuts and the seeds. You had the avocado. Yeah. Both of your salads, even your favorite salad, which didn't, maybe people wouldn't think of that as like, oh, this is like a soup. It could, be a meal salad. It's a meal salad. It's got all the stuff. It hits all the notes.
Yeah. Well, and I really find too, if I am at a restaurant where I don't think they've made their salad dressing from scratch and I don't want like ranch or Thousand Island dressing on my salad, I'll just ask for a wedge of lemon. Mm-hmm. And if, if it's a even average salad and you just add that acid, you don't miss the salad dressing on it. And so that's what I really liked about the kale salad too, is that it isn't a salad dressing. It's like avocado and lemon juice. You didn't have to think very hard about it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have it like in your refrigerator and you're like, oh, I should really eat that salad dressing. Like it just like, it's in your bowl, you eat it and you're done with it.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Well, I only went over by 7 minutes, I have to say. 2021 already paying off.
I will say, I want to go back. There was a question early on that I didn't interrupt you because you were on a roll and it was unrelated to what you were doing, but I wanted to get it in before we end. Jean was admiring your pot rack behind your head and would like to know a little more about it if possible. And I agree. I love that. I wish I could hang that at my new home.
Well, I was going to say, you guys can bid on it in the future because when we remodel our kitchen, which will be in the next couple of weeks, this pot rack will not be staying. I will also tell you that this pot rack is over 20 years old. Wow. It was my college roommates. And she worked at a store that was like Sur La Table or the Pampered Chef or like, kind of like a Williams Sonoma spinoff. And this was her pot rack. And I took it when I left Ohio like 18 years ago. And I love it too, but like, obviously it really collects a lot of grease. Like you do not want to see what it looks like. on top of it. It's like embarrassing to admit in front of all of these people. Luckily, I know most of them or they're related to me and they just have to deal with it, but it's So that's for us with the way that we cook, like it just isn't going to make sense to keep it in our new refrigerator or our new kitchen. And then you guys will get to see my new kitchen. Hopefully by March, it'll be a whole different demo world for me when we're here in my new kitchen. We've been
Awesome.
waiting 5 years to do the kitchen, so it's happening.
That's going to be great. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Let me go back. We'll get to see everybody's faces again. I hope you all enjoyed the class. Did anybody have any comments? Those of you that made the dishes tonight, has anybody tasted anything? What do we think?
I didn't make the
I'm
dish
sorry.
tonight. Hi, this is Sheila.
Hi,
I was typing a message and it went before I finished it. I did the rosemary spice pecans from our edible gifts class.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know that they were a hit. They were great. I enjoyed them. I gave them as several gifts and everybody loved them. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. I had some of those around the holidays. They were delicious, I must say.
Yes, definitely.
Anybody?
I made both of the salads. I haven't tasted them yet, but I was basically able to keep up, which I was surprised by because I'm normally a really slow cook, but I was able to make it happen. Thank you,
Awesome.
Katie. Heather.
I think Katie had to go deal. Oh, there she is. She's muted.
We just had to diffuse a little,
The kids are ready. They're like, "Where's our dinner? Where's our mother? Come on, it's time."
That is actually what Ainsley just said, was that she was really hungry. But I did hear what everybody was saying about the nuts, and that was awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Can I ask a question?
oh yes, go ahead.
The spices for the chicken thighs, is the ginger fresh ginger or powdered ginger?
Good question.
Powdered.
Okay.
Yes. Everything in that recipe was from my spice rack back here, so that you can make a large batch of it and keep it in your pantry if you want to, or you can just make enough. But yeah, definitely powdered ginger.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. And Noah said the salads are great. Awesome. I'm glad everybody enjoyed our class tonight. Hopefully we'll see you for our next class, which is going to be Saturday, the 23rd. We're going to be doing some kind of like meal prep or things that you can do maybe on the weekend to set yourself up for the week ahead so you don't have to do as much during the weeknights. Hopefully y'all will sign up for that one too if you haven't already. And I will be sending out this video tomorrow. If you need anything in the meantime, you know how to reach us, and we hope to see you all again soon. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
So nice to see some friends'
Thank you.
faces. Yeah, and a lot of very familiar faces of people I don't know. Oh, here, now she's in a better mood. She wants to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.